Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at Logic FX Trading, and welcome to our daily FX analysis. Now, as I said yesterday, we're just building up to this week, looking for opportunities, having taken a break for about a month. So, no big revelations today, but one of the things we are focusing on is we've got the UK employment change come in at 147,000, forecast 185, and unemployment come in at 4.3, down on forecast at 4.4. The reason for pointing this out is that the background is that the Bank of England have been hinting that they may well um, increase interest rates, which obviously would push the pound long. So there's a fundamental reason to be looking at the pound to go long. Let's just get over to the charts now, guys. Just while it's in my head, yesterday I watched a lot of Bloomberg, where they bring different experts in and ask them their opinion of what's going on. Very, very diverse opinions of what's going on. No one really knows, and part of that's understandable, guys, because the world never shut down its economy before, right across the board, which is essentially what happened. And now everyone's trying to work out how do we get this massive big machine up and running efficiently again the way it was back in 2019. The main thing is the debate about inflation, particularly in the US, whether it's transitory or not. It seems to be that people think that, yes, it is transitory, but it's going to take a lot longer to get back to normal levels than the Fed initially thought. And therefore, the thought process is that the Fed is probably going to have to start hiking sooner than initially forecast. In other words, maybe the mid 2022. Now, obviously, the market moves before these things happen. So the move up we've watched over the last few months on the dollar could well be pricing that in. We don't know entirely, but what we'll do is we'll look for any drawdowns and see if there's a setup to try and trade long. Dollar pushed longer yesterday. So I would say that we continually, the trade on the dollar over the next 6 months should be long, but there obviously will be drawdowns within that, movement up. I don't want to put a target on it at the moment, guys, but we're getting close. We're starting to move. Let's just have a quick look at it before I make a statement yet. We're moving back towards 100, guys. We're still quite a way off 100, but 95 at the moment on DXY. And if we bring in our impulse back down again, which we're going to have to go into the daily for. We went way over. I thought to myself that, it wasn't that far over. 103 we got to. There's 100 there, which was our forecast from back down here, guys. We forecast to go to 100, but it didn't get there in the way that I thought it would. So I'm not going to bum and blow about that, because obviously, forecasting a target and then being able to trade it's two different things. But getting the forecast right is at least half the problem, guys. So I think it'll continue up, guys. Obviously, not obviously, but I doubt that it'll go up, in any straight lines. It'll probably continue to move up in this sort of manner, which is what we had predicted earlier in the year. Not the 100 target, but the movement of the dollar earlier in the year. We predicted to move, something like this. Let's just spread that out a little bit. That's not a great representation there, but you understand what I mean. Let's just take it a bit bigger. When we hit here, I said the dollar would probably do something like this. And then we got this target in. We talked about this yesterday. This target was put in by Morgan Stanley, guys, or was it Goldman Sachs, or it might have been both of them. And I drew it in and said, guys, I'm not, convinced that that's going to happen, but we could at least see price coming down and giving us a double bottom here. which we almost got, but not quite. And since then, it's been an upward movement, which in the daily time scale looks really easy to trade. You get in here and you're still in here, guys. But when you get down into 4 hours, 1 hour time scale, guys, there's a lot of stuff going on in there, which any one of which could make you decide to get out of the trade, particularly this move back down again. There was the start of the year where we said we were going to get a correction. So really what you're trying to do is get in, and then you're going to have to be brave when you get the drawdowns, because if you get in there, you're back to zero here. Chances are you're stopped out, guys, unless you took profits over here. And yet again, if you get in here, well, that would have been grand, but if you hung on to it too long, yet again, you would have been stopped out. So, timing's everything with this, guys, and not being too greedy. Get in and set a target for yourself. You hit your target, take your profits, and then wait for the next setup. So where's the next setup? I don't know specifically that this isn't going to continue up, guys, but unless you were in it, you're not going to want to get into it there if you were trading this index. So it would be a case of waiting to see, do we get some sort of pullback, like that or like that. And then from there, you would trade back up. Now, at the moment, the way the language is being used, I can't see too big a correction coming in. So I'm not sure that we'll get something like that. But yesterday, I think it was yesterday, might have been Friday. Yeah, yesterday we had this. And I was kind of saying, well, you'd like to see a bit more down there before you get into it. Well, waiting for the bit more, missed that. Which could have been a nice in. And at this point, you're either taking your profit, depending on what your leverage is, or you're putting your stop loss to zero and hoping that it pushes on up. So if you're in it, you're hoping it's going to push on up. If you're not in it, I would be looking for some sort of correction, guys, and trade it in such a way that if you got in there, say, and it kept going, that you're not going to panic and allow it then to come back up and maybe buy in again down there somewhere. Just going back to the yen. And I will start putting charts out on these guys. I'll probably do one on that DXY today, so that we have it, that we can just go back to it, because obviously all those scribblings that I do, we delete those, and then we've no record of what we'd said 2 and 3 weeks or 2 and 3 months ago, guys. So I will start to do those. It's just about getting into the routine of doing them again, because I haven't really been doing them for the best part of a year. The Japanese yen, I think there's more downside to it. It could hang around here for a while, but I don't see any big upside to it. Why do I say it could hang around? Well, look at that, how long it took that to go. We did forecast it to drop further, but, well, from a way up here, actually, let's get into the 4 hours. We forecasted to drop. And then around here, we were wondering, were we going to get a reaction off this trend line, which we didn't get. And then we decided, well, it looks to me like it's going to be some sort of running flat, and we'll get the downside of this, the other side of this, pushing on down. And I think we're going to continue with that. This could hang around for a while, but I think there is more downside to it. And that's just an extension of that, guys, which sometimes comes off. And then there's the target. At the moment, it's technical. But fundamentally, I don't see any big reason for money to rush into the yen unless we got a massive drawdown on the stock markets, guys, which isn't necessarily on the cards. Will we get a correction? Maybe we'll get a correction over the next 6 months, guys, but it's not going to be a crash. So it will be a case of sitting through it if you're in some stocks. And then decide, maybe you put a 10% stop loss in. I know years ago that's what I used to do. I don't necessarily do that anymore. I'm a lot more knowledgeable now than I was back then. But sometimes, when you watch something go and go and go and go, and then you're down 30%, you're kind of saying, do you know what? Maybe I should have just taken a 10% loss on that. So That's DXY. Obviously, the other side of DXY is the euro dollar. And yes, we had it continue to push down. I did say around here yesterday that I thought it would continue to drop, but I don't see a setup for it. So yet again, if you're in it, fantastic. If you're not in it, then it's going to be hard to get into it unless you're going to start trading down at very low time scales, which is not what I do, guys. But if you were in here on a low time scale, 15 minutes, maybe you could have saw a setup there to grab that. But certainly on the 1 hour, 4 hour time scale, daily time scale, that breakout there would have been the place to get involved, which would have been last week sometime, guys. The 10th, yeah, it was a week ago. Over onto the pound. Now, with the pound, guys, I think we're going to see some upside to the pound, but don't be trying to trade it against the dollar. The only reason you'd see some upside on this pair would be if the dollar were to give us a drawdown, from here. If we were to get something like that, then obviously that would show up over here. But if you didn't get that, then this is going nowhere. This would end up running flat, guys. So that isn't the trade on the pound, provided the Bank of England does say that it's going to increase rates. Aussie US, well, we kind of said from way back here it was just going to run flat, and it has done, but it doesn't mean you couldn't trade it, obviously. The difficulty is when you're kind of in the middle of a range, if this is some sort of range going here, guys. When you're at this point, it gets difficult because really you're looking to do that. But then where does that come from? Because you'd have to bet against the dollar, and I wouldn't like to do that either. And it'd be the same with New Zealand. You'd have to bet. Oh, well, it isn't quite the same. Well, yeah. You have the same structure in there, guys. And you would have to bet against the dollar to see that coming back up to there, which yet again, I don't want to do. So I'll just be leaving those alone. Can it go short? Well, it can. The problem is that for it to go short, then DXY would have to continue to push on up there. And that would be the equivalent of getting into the dollar at that point, which I wouldn't like to do. Can that happen? It can happen. But if you trade like that constantly, you'll get it wrong a lot more often than you get it right, guys. And then, therefore, from my point of view, it isn't the right thing to do. There are other people who see price getting to a certain level, and when it breaks through it, they say, well, that's the breakout, and this is the start of the breakout. That isn't how I see it, guys. I like to see a setup, and off you go. And why? Because all you've got to do is go and look at the charts, look at any chart, and that's how it looks, guys. You get an impulse, you get a setup. You get an impulse, well, a move up, you get a setup. Sawtooth, guys. And some of them are deeper than others, but always moves in a sawtooth. And in this case, if you get the trend right, then you can trade it. If you get the trend wrong, then, and say you decide there you're going to trade up, and the trend actually is that, well, then that's where you're in difficulty, which is kind of where I got it wrong back over here, because after we got that, I was looking for this to go long, and then it went into this. And it's fine looking at it in hindsight, guys, but this took a couple of weeks, actually a month near enough, from May nearly to June, 3 weeks. And if you're long in a trade here and every day it's dropping, then you get hopeful and it's gone again, then you hopeful it's gone again, and then you're in here. And I do remember being in here and then getting out of it just in time for it to go long. You do need patience, and you need guts, and you need a stop loss, and you need a good trading strategy that you are happy with. In other words, it's part of your trading strategy. You get your stop losses in there, and if you get them hit, you accept that they get hit, and you get on with it, and you try again, guys. Okay. Aussie, New Zealand, CAD. Now, one of the things about this pair is what's happening to the CAD, and a big part of that is what's happening to the oil price. Well, it doesn't look like OPEC are going to cut, going to increase oil production. I listened to the deputy, the Russian deputy energy minister yesterday. He was at the meeting. Guys, sorry, I can't remember where the meeting is. The OPEC meeting at the moment, guys, or the oil producers at meeting, and it had quite a lengthy discussion on Bloomberg, and he was basically saying they don't see any reason why they would need to increase oil production at the moment, and therefore, even with the pressure from Biden, I'd be surprised if they started increasing oil production. So if that's true, and if that happens, then oil's going to stay where it is or go higher. I wouldn't be surprised if oil pushed up, to near $100 a barrel, guys. We're in a bit of a correction at the moment, but I'm looking for that to break out long. The only reason that it would drop off would be if they decided that they're going to pump more oil, and they're saying that's not what they're going to do. I'll keep an ear out for that on Bloomberg today, see if they mention it again. But at the moment, it looks like oil is at least going to stay at this level or push up, which, back to the CAD, will support the CAD. But yet again, because we're looking for the dollar to increase, then this wouldn't necessarily be a smart trade, because you'd have to work out which direction it's going to go in. Um, yes, CAD, it's moving long. Can it push on up? Possibly, but there are better candidates, guys. And look at this. Swedish krona, yet again, running flat. But look at that impulse there, guys. At this point, I was thinking, well, maybe that's a little ending diagonal. You'll get a move down before it pushes long. Clearly, that didn't happen. Not to trade it, but if you wanted into it, then because of the danger of that being an ending diagonal, look at the divergence here, guys. Not quite down to zero, but there is divergence from there to there to there. Maybe if it had got something like that, then I'd have been quite happy to try and trade that long. Because of where it is at the top of this flat correction that it's been in since August, maybe even before that, I would be very reluctant to go long there, guys. You'd have to see some sort of correction here, wouldn't you, in order to get into it? Can it break out and go long? Yes, it can, but you need a setup. US yen, this one possibly, because I'm looking for the yen to drop again, this one possibly could go long. Interesting that was almost the exact opposite of what's going on the just trying to copy this, folks, on the yen index. Just flip it around and squish it up a bit. Not exactly, but not far off it, guys. So it looks like the yen index is essentially the dollar yen chart inversed. And if we go back, let's go back and do a little bit more of that. I'm sure we've talked about this before, guys. If we take it out, say, onto the daily time scale, and we do the same exercise, you can see it, guys. You can see it there. Let's go from here right across and just see how much correlation there actually is. And we'll go back to here, and you can see it's exact, isn't it? Paste, and then just flip it, and then get her lined up. There you go. So basically, that yen index is the dollar yen chart. So I would certainly look for. I know it's come into these levels, guys, but if we're looking for more upside to the dollar, I could see this pushing a little bit further on up. Maybe this would be our target here. Why not? Remember, we're on a daily time scale. take it back to the 1 hour. There's quite a bit of an impulse to come in there, guys. The exact timing, don't know. Would I get in there? I would have preferred to have got in there. But at some point this will break out, and maybe this is one of the times where when you get a breakout that you go, okay, that's the place to get involved. Not how I normally trade, guys, but if you were desperate to get into that, that may well be a place to trade it long. US Swiss continuing to push long, and yet again, remember we're looking for a correction on DXY, and therefore if you were looking to trade this, you'd probably have to do the same thing, guys. And yet again, this is like a bit of a stretched version of what we've had since the start of the year with DXY. And you could even take that and copy that and go back to DXY and paste it, and you can see the same structure, guys, can't you? Obviously exaggerated at certain points. This won't exactly line up. And this is as the dollar accelerates away, then this is dragging this up. So if this continues on up, then that will continue on up. If we get a correction there, you'll get a pullback there, and that's potentially your setup to go. And, and the best way to trade these things is to be patient, guys. And yes, sometimes you miss them, but a lot of the times you miss trades. But that depends on how much time you spend watching the charts. So then this is back to where we were there. What are you looking at? Well, this is pushing up at the moment. You don't jump in there. You wait for it to pull back, and then you look for the next move up. Can it push on up? It can. Gold pushing up nicely. Yet again, it'll probably stall. Just look at how it's been moving. It'll probably stall, and then maybe we get a push on up over the next few months because inflation remains high, and there's that doubt about what's going to happen to the stock markets. We're probably going to see the stock markets coming off over the next few months, which is going to be painful, because obviously you can't ditch all of your stocks just because they go into a drawdown. But then get into maybe summer next year, you'll start to see them all moving up again. And obviously individual stocks someone will perform better than others. If that's the case, then you could well see gold pushing on up, guys. Silver will do the same as gold. Could push on up here a little bit, then a correction. That would be the place to get involved. Bitcoin, a lot of talk about Bitcoin collapsing, and guys, don't read the headlines because they'll always be written in such a way to get you to read them. And nobody reads something that says, hey, Bitcoin's just making a bit of a correction, don't worry about it. You've got to write something along the lines of Bitcoin's crashed. It slides, it says there, but earlier I was reading a few that were making out that the world had come to an end. Look out, Dogecoin and Shiba is Inu. Might be the next breakout cryptocurrency. They've already gone up 2,100%, guys. The time to get in would have been somewhere between 0 and 2,000%. Remember, you're paying 2,000% more if you're getting in now, so you need to be careful with that sort of thing. I just want to see Bitcoin exchange rate has collapsed. Exit bearish Tesla, ARK innovation bets. Oh, Muskie. Don't know what he's up to these days. He's always playing games. But Elon Musk last year, when Tesla hit, and obviously this has anything to do with with what we have here, guys. But when Tesla hit $1,000, Elon Musk came out and said it looked overvalued, and it's pushed on up since then, guys. It's just quickly while we're here, while this come into my head. Do I have Tesla here somewhere? Don't think I've ever invested in it, or if I did, it would only been a quick in and out, either a little loss or a little profit. PQRST, oh, there's it there. I have in Tesla. So, well, obviously it wasn't 1,000 because it only had $1,000 recently. But I got my numbers. It might have been 800 or something, 700. Might have been here where he said it looked overvalued, and then it corrected, and then it's hit here. And this is mainly because he's sold off a lot of his shares, guys, and he's playing some sort of game, or at least making out that he's playing a game. But really, maybe he's just saying, you know what, these are overvalued, I'm going to take a profit. But rather than saying I'm selling them because I think they're overvalued, I'm taking them a profit, what he's making out is he's doing some big political move whereby if you sell your shares, you have to pay the tax on the profit. And he put a tweet out last week and said, who thinks I should sell, some of my Tesla stock? And it was a big vote, and a lot of people said he should sell it. So he's making out that he's only selling it because because Twitter told him to sell it. And there's a lot of nonsense. He's probably selling it because he knows it's way overvalued, guys. Is it a great company? Yeah. Should it be? I don't know. Let me pause a minute and find out. There we go, guys. No, this isn't the be all and end all, but it's an indication. Tesla, $1,013. Analyst price target $850. It's way overpriced on that side. High is 1,400, but obviously to get the 1,400, if it does, there'll be a correction in the meantime, and then it pushes on up. 30% of people are saying sell, 26 hold, 43% are saying buy. Obviously, your strategy would be very important there. If you're willing to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it'd be a buy. But if you're looking to make a profit this year on it, I would let it drop a little bit further. And back over to the stats over here. Price to earnings ratio, 328 to 1, guys. I know it's a growth stock, but these numbers are crazy. You need to get these numbers down. So, given where it got to, he decided to kill two birds with one stone by looking like he's doing the right thing by selling some stock and paying tax on it. But really what he's doing is taking his profit because he knows that it's going to correct because it's got too overpriced. Tricksy. Okay, sorry about that little sidetrack there, guys. I did say that we were only going to do currencies in here. So let's just rush through them. US yen, I think, will go long. US Swiss possibly go long. Need a setup. Gold and silver probably continued along, but yet again, you need a setup. Bitcoin, I drew this in the other day, and I said I would have to see something like that and get into that sort of area there before I would consider trading it long. Well, it's come down so far. I think there's some more downside to it to come. Ethereum, same thing. We'll go the direction of Bitcoin. Needs a bit more downside to me. Something like that, guys. And then you'll see the next move up. Excuse me. Oil, it's going to do that. And then that or that on its own isn't going short. Euro CAD, wasn't entirely sure about this yesterday because of the uncertainty about what was going to happen to the oil price. But obviously they got the message and the CAD increased. Euro Oz also pushing down. Not sure where it's going, guys. Possibly it's a 5-wave move down, and then you'll see it coming, then continuing along those lines. I'm not that keen on it. Euro New Zealand, possibly the same thing, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bit of a move down into there. Euro yen, you could possibly see that going long. It's provided the dollar goes long and the yen drops. The problem with that, trying to take that trade, is the better trade would be the dollar yen. Euro Swiss. No. Pound CAD. Ooh. Pound CAD. Let's see where it's down to. Well, that's the range it's been in for since March 20. So the last most of the year, let's just call it. Possibly that's the direction to trade it in. Don't really want to trade against the CAD, the CAD though. Pound Oz, yet again, possibly pushed on up there. Remember, we're on a daily time scale here, guys. Maybe we need to go down a little bit. There's possibly upside to that, particularly if they come out. There's a little movement on the pound New Zealand. Could be the start of a move up. So your pound Swiss, that's a stronger move there. Pound euro, strong move there as well, guys. So you're looking, we're on a 4 hour, you're looking for some sort of setup in these. Pound yen, possibly. That's just turned the corner there. Yesterday we said, listen, it's come down in the 61.8. I don't religiously trade things because of that, but part of a bigger picture that makes it interesting. So is that the start of a move long in the pound yen? Because we had this impulse, and then that's the correction period that we have on the yen index, where it kind of looks like that. But because the pound was weak, it pulled it back down rather than running flat. If the pound's going to start to increase in value, and if we get that drop out on the yen, then because the dollar pushes up, then quite possibly that's a trade there, guys. So that's something that I might I'll at least put a chart out in that and may trade that. Aussie yen. Well, we drew that in yesterday. Possible 5-wave impulse. Aussie New Zealand. I used to love to trade this, guys, but I haven't been as sure about it recently. Is it going to move up into that space there? Possibly. Aussie Swiss. Not sure. Aussie CAD. I'm never sure about that pair. Swiss yen. Possible trade there, folks. CAD Swiss. Well, there you go. It's broken out. Started moving long. This is one of my favorites. This is on 4 hours, guys. Possibly yesterday would have been a good time to get into it. Maybe if it drops a little bit, it gives you a setup. And CAD yen, yet again, there's a little pullback there. Maybe we start to get a push up on it. New Zealand yen. I'd prefer the Aussie yen to that one. New Zealand CAD. Don't leave that one alone, guys. New Zealand Swiss, too hard to predict. New Zealand Swiss, leave it alone. And that's it for today, guys. Sorry we got a little bit off track there, but we'll try and get it a little bit tighter tomorrow. Okay, guys, that'll do for today. Bye for now.